Yeah, so we focused a lot last week on expectations, setting expectations. I mean, at the end of the day, everything in the pre really revolves around setting proper expectations. So what are some of the ways that we can set the realistic expectations for our sellers?
Good verifiable comps.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, pulling comps, like we're doing this talk, the gift of the shift, and one of the things that I talk about a lot in that is the importance of pulling the right comps. Because if you fuck the comps up, you're going to fuck the value up, and then you just end up putting yourself in a position where you're backpedaling the entire time and trying to recover because you rushed it with your comps in the beginning. And maybe you pulled them last minute, or you didn't have somebody else look at it, and now you priced the property wrong. And sometimes it's a seller that's unrealistic, and sometimes it's you screwing it up. So nailing down your comps is really, really important. What I want to encourage you guys, especially those of you guys that have not, if you haven't listed 100 properties yet, I'm going to call you newer. So it's basically everybody in this room. Like when you're looking at a property, Steve still runs it by me all the time. He's like, hey, can you take a look at this one for me? Like Steve's our top agent in the company, and he still runs a lot of his listings through me. Just, hey, can you take a look at this for me?
And I'll also call an appraiser because some of them just don't, they don't add up. Like some of those comps just you really have to dive into, and it doesn't just take one mind. Sometimes you got to run it by somebody to make sure.
And somebody might have some of that local market knowledge. Like here in Mid-City, there's all these divide lines. So there's all the freeways. So traditionally, the more west you go, so when you go west of the 15, it gets better. Then when you go west of the 805, it gets better. But not always, because if you're east of the 15 and you're in Kensington, then that's better. And then there's these different north-south divide lines with Adams, with University, with El Cajon Boulevard. And sometimes it's better to be north of Adams. Sometimes it's better to be south of University. And so that's where like you want to bounce this stuff off me or bounce it off other people, because maybe you don't know those divide lines. You go in there and talk to a seller, and they're like, the hell are you showing me comps, south of University? I'm up here, in north of Adams, and they're two totally different neighborhoods. So when you guys are pulling your comps, unless it's an area inside and out, you should run them by me, run them by Mike. Like, let us help you. Let us put a second set of eyes on that, because that can really, really help you out.
I think everybody should have an appraiser contact anyway, because Dave from AppraiseNet, I mean, I call him regularly. He's on my speed dial.
Scott and Dave Morris will post, I'll make sure to post both of their info.
$200, Scott said he'd do it.
Do a value check.
Do a value check.
Well, value check free, but if you actually want an appraisal, he'll probably do it for like that.
I think it was like 150 or something.
Yeah.
He did once.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, and sometimes like that would maybe that's what your seller needs.
They used to work together.
Yeah, when you say that you actually pulled appraisal numbers in too from
You
an
had an
appraiser,
appraiser do it. If it's cost you $150 to get the deal, like
it won't cost you $150. It will be more
Right.
For something formal, but
I think
to have them check it,
But yeah.
Cool. All right, so pulling comps, accurate comps, very, very important. Get a second set of eyes on it. If I'm not available, if you can't get a hold of Mike or I, have somebody else in the office just look at it. Always get a second set of eyes on it. So I mean, that helps as far as us pulling comps, but what about when you do have the seller who says, I don't care about the comps, I want to price it here? What are some ways that you guys can handle that?
Setting expectations like of how many showings you should be having.
All right, but let's say we're meeting and you showed me comps and you told me I should price it at 5, and I'm like, hey, I hear you, but I think my house is special, I want to price it at 6.
So I mean, telling stories, using examples, and just showing the timeline of how the property's going to go stale and just that whole route, and just explaining it the best you can. I mean, some sellers aren't going to listen, but
I like to ask them questions to get them to explain their irrational thinking. So, yeah, I think we should be at 500, and they're like, oh, well, I see where you're coming from, but 600 is my number. I'll say, okay, so looking at the different homes that have sold, which is what the buyers are going to look at to give us an offer, can you help me understand why they would then offer you 600 for what everything else is sold for 500? And just get them to, well, my house is special. Okay, well, I'm the one that's going to be selling it, so help me sell the home. What about it makes it special? Let's break this down, because if we can find that diamond in the rough about this home, we might get there. But if it's an exact comparable, it's going to be hard to find a buyer to see it the way you're seeing it, because you're not buying the home. We're trying to get the buyer to buy the home. And they're going to look at these homes that have sold in the neighborhood that are the same square footage with the same upgrades and fixtures, and they're not gonna see the price variation.
In the competition, the active.
Right. So, help me understand your thought process.
Steve.
So the drilling down with those questions is imperative, right, to find out their story. But sometimes people you're going to find are extremely adamant. Nope, nope, nope. So what you need to do is you've got to set a secondary up, meaning, okay, I completely get that we're not going to be able to talk
But don't
about
laugh
the
at him
price.
when you do it.
No, I'm just talking. I'm vocalizing my own joke out of
He's thinking about it.
Right.
He's like, I remember
So
saying
okay, fool. Oh, you're funny. Just making sure that, and we've talked about this several times last year, just make sure that you get a pre-written price reduction of, hey, I want to hit you, I want to
hit you in the face.
I want to help you hit that mark, but realistically, if we don't, how much time are we giving this? Because and then you have to build up that value. And then realistically, if the numbers are telling us, and the data's telling us, and the broker open is telling us, and everything else is telling us that this isn't where we can be, and you are motivated to sell, how soon do we price reduce? Let's get it pre-written, and blah, blah, blah. Like, start that so you can at least side with them, give them what they want, and have an executed price reduction already in hand. Because sometimes people won't let you list it where you want to. They just, nope, nope, nope. So you can do one of two things: walk out without it, or attempt and keep it and bring it to reality.
Great.
You're also not the bad guy if you're like Steve's saying, having a pre-written price reduction plan, and or with that, okay, hey, your home's awesome. Someone may love it as much as you. If it doesn't appraise, let's figure out up front what we're going to do about that. Because then it's the appraiser who's actually saying that it's not worth that. And if you're able to negotiate that up front of like, hey, you want $600,000, it may only appraise for $550. Are you willing to negotiate with the buyer at that point in time? Kind of work out some of that as well.
Just to tie in here, let's assume it's this scenario. It's a $500,000-$600,000 listing. How much money do we make when we sell that listing?
600 is $15K gross.
Okay. And again, how much can we probably get an appraisal for, Jason? No,
I thought you were asking about
No.
your lakeside appraisal again or something.
I wish, yes, I wish I took a $4,400 bet, and I didn't. And contingencies are all removed. It's closing next
But
week.
a couple $100. Yeah, you could probably, Scott will probably do it for like $150, $200 like Jared said.
All right, so let's assume $200. All right, so if we get tied into it or locked in with a seller, and they're like, well, I want this number, and you're recommending this number, what if you just throw out there, say, hey, you know what, it sounds like we have a little bit of difference of opinion on numbers. What if we had an appraiser come in here, an unbiased third party, and had them come in and do an appraisal on the property? And I'll cover the cost of it. How about this? I'll pay to have an appraiser come out here. Let's let them appraise the property, and let's just both agree that we'll go with the number they come up with. Is that fair? If that's going to help me get the listing and all I got to spend is $200, I'll pay $500. I don't care. I'll pay $1,000 if that guarantees me the listing. It's another way that you could go with it. And I don't know if you guys have ever ordered an appraisal before, but if you call Scott or Dave, you're like, hey, Scott, I need an appraisal on this property. Scott's going to say, all right, well, where do you think it should come in at?
That's a wrap.
Just going to put it out there. So that's one way to go. The thing that I do a lot in my listing appointments is I have the little book I give the seller, and then I have all the MLS printouts. And as I go through the comps, I'll ask the seller, hey, do you believe that this home is about the same as yours, or a little better, or a little worse? It's about the same. Okay. This one better, worse, about the same. Oh, that one's worse. Better, worse, about the same. Same. Better, worse, about the same. Oh, those are both better. Okay. So, Mr. Seller, we both agree that these are the homes that are most similar to yours, correct? Correct. Okay. These homes are priced in the $480,000 to $500,000 range. So if we agree that these are the homes that are most similar to your property, wouldn't you agree that we need to price our home within the same range that these properties sold at? It's very easy. And they're like, no, I want to price it higher. Okay. But we already agreed that these homes are a little better than yours. And even these homes didn't sell for that number that you're asking for. We agree that these are the homes that are the most similar to yours. This is where we need to price it. And let them, they almost dug their own grave in that scenario. So it's another way that you could do that. Jason.
I think expectations, so many sellers think whatever they list it for is what they're going to sell it for, right? So I think one of the good things that Kyle showed us in meetings in the past is, especially when he's competing against other agents, he's like, hey, here's what we list for and here's what we sell for. And what agents are you talking to? Oh, they list here and they sell for here, right? Because most sellers really believe it's the list price. That's why they're arguing with you. They really think whatever they listed for is what they're going to get.
Right.
And we realize 95% of the time it's going to be less, right?
I mean, you can bring up a story.
Work out.
Yeah, it might. Right. But yes, it was because it was going up, right? Yeah.
I mean, you can explain to them that you don't dictate the price, the buyers do, right? So if you price it right and it's legitimately worth that, the offers will come in at that price.
That's why-
taking your lakeside one, for example, right? So, I mean, just you can bring up past stories of, just because we list it here doesn't mean we can't get more money. It's just going to give us the most eyes on your property.
That's a
It'll
great
bring
example.
it will bring in more offers.
Steve's idea is disarming too, because you can approach it by saying that, like, you don't need to be in confrontation. You can say, look, I do this a lot. I think I'm pretty well educated on it, but I don't proclaim to know it all. I could be wrong here. The market is going to tell us if you're right or if I'm right or if something in the middle is the case. So why don't we just do this and then we'll agree to do this if we have to adjust because of what the market's telling us.
And even if we list it at 500 and you get an offer at 500, doesn't mean you have to take it. If you're not happy with it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you.